Converging channels, unscripted conversations. The idea for this project has been simmering in the back of my head and heart for a long time. I'm so pleased to now bring it forward. The power of connecting through the heart cannot be underestimated. If COVID has taught us one thing, and it has taught us many things, to truly connect person to person, individual to individual, to speak from the heart and to listen through the heart is something so fundamentally human. I am so pleased to bring this project to fruition with the help of dear friends and colleagues of mine. May it inspire you to connect through the heart. Enjoy. Gail Marks Teevan, a fellow coach. We attended coaching school 10 plus years ago together. And I'd like to thank a dear friend, a fellow traveler on a journey we call life. My gratitude to her for being willing to engage and set out on an adventure neither one of us have pre-scripted. Gail is an experienced massage therapist, a life coach, and has played professional basketball with the first women's basketball team, the All-American Redheads. Her rich background and deep experience through her life and in her work is appreciated. Thank you, Gail, for being willing to have this conversation with me today. Hello, Gail. How are you?
I'm so well right now. Thank you.
I'm so glad.
Being grounded.
Yes. And a good start to begin a conversation when we're grounded. We have a whole different foundation to meet ourselves and to meet each other in truth, to be willing to show up as we are while feeling stable in our own centeredness.
I think it takes a lot of trust in that when we open our souls, as we do, that there's going to be reciprocated love and understanding and acceptance.
Yeah.
That's always not the easiest place to get to. But I think if you come from love, if you come from a place of giving and receiving, like we were talking about, I think that that's a safe place.
Yes. It's interesting, the audience did not hear our little touching base before we started recording this, that particularly in this field of work, being grounded and in tune with self and having a clear intention of benevolence, not only toward the person we're working with, not only for the person we're working with, but to start with that benevolence for self, I've found is so critical. It's this proverbial well, if it's empty, you have nothing to share. And I believe that, and I found that this benevolence piece to arrive with as an intention when you meet with somebody just sets that groundwork, sets the foundation for the interaction. It's almost like a grid you plug into.
What's coming up for me is if you don't do that, you're leaving it up to chance. And oftentimes chance isn't where or how you want to be.
Yeah.
So I think with the intention, intention really matters in what direction you want to and will take.
Yes.
I was talking to a friend of mine today about when I work as a massage therapist, there's an intention of healing. There's an intention of having you understand what the process is and what the process of healing is.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't, there was a void of me being too much technical explanation to where the regular human would accept that. And I just wanted to start the intention of healing. And I guess I got too technical. I wasn't being as feeling. Mm-hmm. And it struck me as how interesting, because I feel that I'm a two-part person of technology. I'm not technology, but technicalness of science.
Yes.
Being a massage therapist,
mm-hmm.
and such a soulful being of the feeling. So it was interesting that the science came out more than the feeling, because I see myself as the feeling human mm-hmm. more than the scientific human. Mm-hmm. So intention really, really does matter.
It's so interesting that you're bringing up these two components, which, from my perspective through my life, seemingly have been at times in conflict to decide which one is right. And I see our society struggling with which choice to make. And more recently, I come both from the technology and the technical end. I'm an engineer by training, and I have that empath, soulful component to me that allows me to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And have for a long time struggled myself with the question of how can I bring both to the occasion and utilize them cohesively rather than it being a tug of war. And the beauty of acknowledging both parts of us, when we merge them together, we have a much broader bandwidth of communication to ourselves as well as to our outer world, depending on the situation and how somebody is at that moment, in quotes, wired. Their kind of default comfort zone of communication. And when we no longer have to question the contributions, both parts of our brain are wanting to contribute. We have a creative, very kind of feeling part of our brain, and then there's a logical, very procedure kind of part of our brain. Mm-hmm. And for a long time I made one wrong over the other, And it finally hit me, we have two parts, why not use both? Why not be a full-headed person rather than just operating 50% capacity? And that was a
How empowering is that?
Huge breakthrough.
Yeah.
And the fun component of that is when you start playing with that, you can tune your communication to your own needs at the moment, as well as the audience you're talking to. And we talked about presence last time, and it takes presence with self, recognizing self, as well as presence with your audience in order to find the right communication channel for the moment.
Right. And I think we spoke before you started to tape. Our message will be received by who needs to hear it.
Yes.
And I think that's a really powerful place to have a presence in.
Yes. And I wanted to add something you said earlier. If you're not clear in our attention, we leave it up to chance. And that kind of goes in this question, what is chance? What's really happening there? And for me, the scientific mind then kicks in and is really curious. Okay, what is that? And the answer that I found for myself, or the route that I'm exploring to find an answer, is the idea that we're dealing really with energy. At the end of the day, it's all energy. So chance, as you pointed out, is an energy that's not streamlined. It's kind of bouncing all over the room in a way. And that has great potential. And there are times when that kind of energy is called for. And then there are times, as you said, when the focus is meant to be a particular one, as in, a massage session, a coaching session where you have a particular aim based on your client's wishes. Our job is, and needs, exactly. Our job, our beautiful job, is to kind of recognize the energy potential and then help streamline it so it actually is helpful rather than becoming barrier or adding to the existing conflict.
That's beautiful. That is, yes. I think I live in the gray area of logic and chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gives me the opportunity to weave in and out of being both.
Yes.
And that's my balance. That's where I get my gifts, excuse me, from, and not having to be always logical or having to be always not as organized. So
can you tell me more about what's your experience when you allow yourself to be in that sweet spot?
I get that's a great description of it, the sweet spot. I don't have fear that I am so strict in this is the way it is and this is how it has to be. If I can be more flexible in, okay, chance came in.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
Okay, so now how do I do it? So now I'm over on that side. And if the important piece for me, the important word there for me was to take the fear out of it.
Mm.
If we're going to be so intent on one way,
yes,
and that's not real in most people's reality.
Mm-hmm.
When chance does come in, when unexpectedness comes in,
yes,
then you're not thrown off your game. When you can accept that and take that fear out of it and say, what a new adventure I have.
Yes.
Now, can I do that all the time? Absolutely not. Do I get thrown? I mean, you experienced me being rattled this morning. there was a lot of stuff throwing me off my tracks. But when I can stop and really, really feel what I want to feel and how I want to feel, the feeling is what's going to guide me as to what side of the track I'm going to be on.
Oh, that's a beautiful real life experience. I mean, we all have these moments where we feel rattled. I had a situation last night where I so went off in that direction, and how powerful it is then to stop as you are accelerating on that track and to say, wait a minute, is this really where I want to go? And at the same time, as I'm listening to you, I recognize as an artist, the whole piece of chance, or however you want to call it, is an essential component to allow for art to come forth. I see myself as an instrument that brings forth art. It's really a channel through me that I know I can safely allow now, because I have what you just described, this intention of I know who I am currently. I have an intention of this being joyful, and then to just open up the floodgates, so to speak, and allow the energy to bounce about the room and to see what wants to be expressed. And therefore I'm more the witness of the experience. Yes, the tool also that pushes the keys on the keyboard or takes the camera and points in a certain direction. But I'm much more the witness, and that's so powerful. So it is a almost a leaning back into something as a allowing of a process to unfold.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. I can relate to that in massage.
Mm-hmm.
When my person comes in and I ask, how you doing, what's going on, and they'll say, oh, my shoulder hurts me. Okay, so we'll start on the shoulder, and then I'll realize that their neck is off kilter, their spine is out of whack, their muscles are contracted on one side and down their back. So it wasn't just the shoulder that made that be the issue. And when you can be open to the changes that will happen, then you kind of can meld them all together and say, this whole pot is what the issue is. This whole pot is the answer for this specificness. So it's the same as paint on a brush. I mean, you have the intention of that straight line, and all of a sudden you look away and you have this beautiful color on this paper. So it's being open to the newness.
What a beautiful. I can. It's almost like a spring breeze just moves through the room as you're talking about that. How freeing, and when you talk about massage, freeing a constricted muscle and loosening contracted tissue that keeps us from enjoying life.
Yeah, we get stuck in our rigidity.
Yes.
Not just in our bodies, but in our minds, and the game that both of those play with each other. I was talking to the same fella, and it was the interestingness of you're having upset with your family. Yeah. So there's stress, there's connection, and all of a sudden your back starts to hurt. And everything's tightening up, and your shoulder comes up to your ear, so that now you're really in congestion. And it started from your head and your thoughts and your mind, and which changed your behavior. And now your body is responding to that stress and the disconnect.
Yeah.
And it goes the other way as well. I mean, when you have an injury, you forget that you'll ever feel good again from that injury.
Yeah.
And that now your body has given your mind and your thoughts the information of, we can't do it.
Yeah.
We can't do it. I'm in pain and I'm not going to.
Yeah.
So there's the vicious cycle. I am in pain, so I'm not going to get up.
Yeah.
But I am in pain because I don't get up.
Yes.
So it falls back on perception of how you want to experience this. And I understand there's a lot of things that can happen in our bodies that our thoughts aren't going to be able to change right away.
Yeah.
But changing your view of it, changing your perception of it, changing your feeling about it will change. And that's the connection that you can have the opportunity to have control, to have the power over.
What a beautiful, beautiful realization. What a powerful realization. Your sharing this reminded me of two situations. One, when we were in my family dealing with prolonged severe illness, and a physician friend of mine, really dear friend, who helped me to see that what I perceived as normal, which was extreme fight and flight syndrome, prolonged, she asked, do you remember what normal feels like? And that question floored me, because she was right on realizing that I had forgotten what normal feels like. I was so tense. And the other piece, a really, really profound experience in very deep part of grieving, where I could not remember what joy felt like.
Yeah.
It was like off the chart. It was nowhere to be found. What a profound experience when you cannot recall what joy feels like, or it seems you cannot recall what joy feels like.
Sure. Yeah.
And then on the other hand, the experience of finding that feeling again, realizing it was never lost, it was just obscured and buried under a lot of stuff.
It wasn't. It's time to be there.
It's time to be there. It's time to be there. And I think these conversations help us to honor our own journeys and the journeys we've witnessed as we're working with individuals. And my hope is that as we're sharing these conversations, they will remind others that they have choice, that there is hope, and that we carry everything within ourselves. Sometimes we need a little help from the outside world in order to remind us it's all there. But it's all there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, I do believe that.
Do you want to close our conversation for today on this note? Or do you have something else you want to add?
No, I think that this has been a really powerful conversation. I think that it gives us, as well as the listeners, an opportunity to really see inside that there are two ways, multiple ways. And often we forget or we lose sight that we get to choose.
Yeah.
And when we can come back to that, when we can come back to being grounded, to being understanding and accepting and become aware of what we need.
Yes.
And we have that. We all have that.
We do.
In us.
Thank you, Gail. What a gift to have these conversations, and we'll continue.
Yes.